All right, DBS community, welcome back to another video here with Chris, and today we're going to be starting the deck building series. I've done these in the past. I actually did a few of these where I was going through some of the black decks and just building decks off the leaders. I think I forgot why I stopped. I think there was another series that we were doing. But what we're going to be doing now is, since we're going to be doing a one-time reveal video for whatever color that comes out for the new set, since Bandai's doing 2 cards a day, that kind of ruins the fact of us doing reveal videos every day, or at least it's just not as valuable. So we're gonna do a full-length reveal video, and then we will be doing a deck building video pretty far afterwards here, or pretty soon afterwards, I should say. And the idea of this is just to, go over, instead of me showing you a deck that I built, we're going to go over building a deck and as to why we would put certain cards in the deck. Now, obviously, we're not going to be building a side deck. I might build a side deck, actually. I will retract that statement. I might build a side deck. I just don't think the side deck stuff is very interesting unless you are building, unless you're going into like, an event, store champs, nationals, things like that, just because the side deck stuff it's mainly based off of whatever you're playing against in the current format, not necessarily cards you would slot in to this deck, because you just put that stuff in the main deck, right? So we're going to be doing Cumber today. I'm very, very excited to be playing this leader. I've said this numerous times. This will, unless the deck is absolutely awful, if the deck has some sort of legs, which I do believe it will, I will be playing this leader a lot. This will kind of be like my Xeno Sin deck, where I played that deck into the ground. So I'm definitely very excited about this deck here. So without further ado, we'll get right into actually the building process. So the first thing we're going to do is just add the Prison Planet, which is the main focus of this deck. Being able to make this Trunks and Vegeta 1Ks in our area. But the main factor is being able to use your Fu Overlord skills on targets in your opponent's area. Now, as of the making of this video, they have not changed the ruling for the servant effect, which is the argument of owner versus master, essentially, where you cannot use the servant effect, or you cannot use the overlord effect on servant cards in your opponent's battle area if you do not own that card. So there's a lot of cards we can play in our opponent's battle area, and then we can give that card servant, and then we can bottom deck it using our overlord effect, because it goes to the bottom of our deck, so we get to draw a card. As of right now, you cannot overlord your opponent's battle cards to the bottom of their deck and then draw a card. It does not work that way with the current ruling of how servant works, of how servant and overlord works. By the time this set comes out, they might change that. And if they do that, just know this deck becomes even better than what it was. Because if I can bottom deck my opponent's battle cards, that is incredible. And I think that will end up coming into effect. It just seems as if that's how this deck was made to function. But we'll see as we get to that point. Because this is the first deck that does this. So we'll have to actually see. Alright, so we have the Prison Planet in. We have it at 1, obviously. And we're going to go into the Z deck real quick and just add the Z battle cards that we know are going to be in the deck. Which is, we're going to do for the Fu, Assembling the Strong. This card is your Deflect Barrier Overlord. This allows you to bottom deck a lot of the cards. Also has a Z-Stack effect, which you get to put a 2-drop Cumber from your Z deck into underneath this card, and then you can play it out for 1 energy. So we're going to add 4 Fu. The Cumber is this guy here. We're going to add 2 of him for now. We might end up taking him down to 1 or removing him. It just depends. But this card, you can, when it's played and when it attacks, it chooses one of your opponent's battle cards 4 or less, and then it gains Servant. Meaning that it cannot, it gains 10k, and then it cannot restand during your opponent's charge phase. And then we're going to do one of the Z leader, which is a 20k leader. When it attacks, it draws, gives a card Servant, and then activate battle. You choose 2 cards, 2 of your opponent's battle cards with Servant, and use them in a combo, which is very good. Again, this is a lot of defense, but also a lot of offense. Being able to combo up to a 30k realistically, or even more if there's a card that has 10k, you can just combo that card and maybe be a 30k, even a 40k leader swing, which is very terrifying to deal with. It's very like Dark Broly vibes, right? So we're going to do 1 Cumber, and that will be the Z deck for now. We might end up changing this later on. We'll get to that point. So we're just going to go down the list of the actual cards that come out in this set, and just go from there, right? So we have Evil Saiyan. This obviously is going to be our secret rare of choice. We're going to be playing this card from our hand just because this deck does not really rely on Overwhelm too much. But it warps a card on play. You look at your opponent's life, you warp a card, you play a 7 cost or less. Then when your opponent plays a battle card 7 cost or less, you can warp one of your cards to then gain control over that card. And what's nice, it gets around barrier because it doesn't choose. So this is a very powerful card here. Obviously, we're going to include that. For the new Cumber, Furious Frenzy, this is the dual attacker you play for 1. Gives a card Servant and then swings twice. There is actually a Fu Unison, which is not in here for some reason. But Fu can give a card, one of your Cumber cards Servant, which then gives it 10k. So this will become a 29k dual attacker, which is very good. So we're going to do 4 of that. This is the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. Now this card is very odd. So essentially you can play it by choosing a Goku and a Vegeta. Not Xeno, so it has to be a Goku and a Vegeta. And this card is always played in your opponent's battle area. And you can use cards in your opponent's battle area to use this as the Union Patora. So Union Patora is from board. So there's a Vegeta and a Goku you can play. You can either have them in your battle area, in your opponent's battle area, whatever. But it has to be a Goku and a Vegeta, non-superhero, non-GT, non-Xeno, just, you know, a Goku and a Vegeta. You warp a battle card, and then you draw 1, and then if your opponent has 4 or more life, so this is the auto then triggers for your opponent. So if your opponent's leader is a Cumber, and you have 4 more life, for the turn, if an Evil Saiyan or Cumber with entry cost of 8 attack, you cannot activate counter skills. But the problem with this card is that it comes in an active mode, and it's a barrier blocker. So the community is kind of torn on how this card is actually going to be used. I don't think this card's great, and honestly, if it wasn't searchable in the deck, I probably wouldn't play it. But it is a searchable card. It can warp something on play, which I do think is good. But giving your opponent a barrier blocker 25k is really dumb, right? So we are going to include it as a 1 of for now. And I think a 1 of or 2 of is probably what you want to have this card in the deck as, because realistically it still does give you benefit, but it's not something that's going to be, I think, consistent, at least as of right now. Now this could change depending on what the TP will be, whether it's a Cumber or a Fu, if it's an 8 cost, like there's different things that can go into. So at the moment, a 1 of is fine. Like I said, this might change as we go into the deck. But the idea of this, how Bandai essentially printed this, is that you play this card for free, you warp something, you draw a card, you activate the auto effect. Then you play Evil Saiyan, you warp the Vegito, warp a card from your opponent's life, and then play the Vegito back out, or play whatever else, right? And now your opponent cannot block this guy, or cannot counter this attack, and they can't counter this attack. They have to just out-combo it, or activate battle and do something, right? So we'll keep it as a 1 of for now. Like I said, that might change. Evil Saiyan, 13 for battle. This is your secret. This is your searchable, just everything in the deck. This searches out your Unison. This searches out any other Fu cards. It also searches out any Saiyan 6 or less, which is going to be most of your deck. So we're going to include this as a 4 of. This is one of your best turn 1 plays. Between this and using Trunks, you can just cycle turn 1, even if you don't have to attack first, and you're going to be able to get some cards. The Berserk Barrage, this is your boss monster. You can't play it till turn 4, which is a little unfortunate, and it is limit 1. But when this card's played, you draw 1, and you choose any number of your opponent's battle cards, and those cards get Servant, which is great. It just basically stalls your entire opponent's board as long as they don't have barrier. And then this card either gets dual attack, double strike, or it gets triple strike, depending on which one you want to do. Your opponent also has to have 2 more battle cards in play, which will not really be a problem. So we're going to include 3 of this. For now, just for space purposes. It is limit 1, so we can't play it till turn 4. If this was like you just need 2 energy to play it, we would probably run it as a 4 of, but 3 is definitely fine, I feel like. Berserk Instinct. So this is an interesting card. So you play it for 1 if you have 3 or more energy. If your leader's black, this card gets 10k in Servant, making this a 25k double strike. If a player's leader is black, when this card is used in a combo, Choose up to one of your cards and it gets 10k for the battle, and then play this card from your combo area in your opponent's battle area. So, again, the problem with this card, this is why I don't like it. The problem with this card is that you are giving your opponent a free 5k combo, right? That's really bad, right? So you can combo this card to make it a 10k, but then you're giving them free 5k combo because now they can just combo this card off. You know what I'm saying? So it's very odd. I don't think you're going to be playing this in your opponent's battle area a lot, unless you're like, maybe you swing at a unison, right? That's probably the best time to do this. So you swing this, so you swing at a unison with like whatever, right? You combo this card, and now they can't combo it, right? You put this in your opponent's battle area, probably to go into Vegito, or you can now use your leader effect, give it Overlord or give it Servant, bottom deck it real quick just to draw a card. So it was a free 10k combo that draws you a card. So that's the idea of it. If you're swinging at a battle card, I'm not playing this. I'm not. It just doesn't seem very good to do that with. So it is also just a 1-drop 25k double striker. So that is pretty cool as well. So we can play it on our boards, swing with it, 25k double, and then just bottom deck it too. So you have that effect as well. So it just it definitely is a 4 of. And we get 2 Trunks Prisoner from the future. This is definitely going to be a 4 of. This is one of your big components to this deck. So it is a free play. If your leader is Evil, Saiyan, or Cumber, you play it in your opponent's battle area. You get to search top 5 for a Mai or a Saiyan, 6 or less, and then shuffle. And when this is played on your opponent's side, they draw a card and discard a card. So you kind of force your opponent to get rid of something, especially like off the mulligan. This is actually pretty good because then you kind of force your opponent to get rid of something, which could mess up what they're wanting to charge and things like that. But this is kind of like a draw 2, essentially. So you can play this guy anytime you have Fu on board. Any of these cards you get to play for free. There's this in the Mai. So this draws you. This cycles a card, so it just equals out, and then you can bottom deck it with Fu to then draw a card, which is very good. We have Vegeta. This is a negate. Limit 1. If your leader is a Cumber, you can play this card for free without having to pay its cost. So this is going to be a 4 of in the deck as well. The reason is that this is, once you have awoken, you are now Cumber, and this is a free battle card negate once per turn, right? If your opponent, they can swing with this, they can do whatever, right? But after you negate, now this card here becomes it just becomes fodder for you, right? So you can play this, like, they'll negate. If they want to swing with it, they can. They can't, they're not going to want to combo this card away because it is a 1 cost. They might want to, but it is kind of a steep cost. Again, it's just a free negate that's searchable. And then if this card does stick on your opponent's board after the turn, you can then give this card Servant and then bottom deck it. Right, and then you can always just draw it again with Trunks or the Evil Saiyan. Alright, so then we have the Evil Saiyan Super Combo. So this is kind of where the deck is a little bit interesting, because this will change depending on the format. So right now, this is a strong 10k combo. If you have 2 or more Z Energy or a Z Battle card in play, or a Z Leader, when you combo this card, you draw 1. So once you have filled up your Z Energy a little bit, or you have a Z Battle card or a Z Leader, this now is a 10k combo. It's searchable, which is great. There's not a ton of downside to it. The only downside is that it's not Vegeta Super Combo, right? Now, Vegeta can only activate at 4 life, which is a bottom deck 1 draw 2, which I think it seems like they're kind of phasing those out a little bit, right? Like those cards have gotten power crept pretty heavily. So we are going to include for this because we do like the fact that this is just a 10k combo. Helps with aggro matchups, and then once we do fill up our Z Energy, this card's going to be live for the rest of the game. We don't need to go down the 4 energy, or down the 4 life. Alright, we already included the Cumber, so this card here is just another, I think this is the promo one that they did. Yeah, this is the promo one they did. So we're not going to worry about this guy. Scheming Overlord Fu. This is a 20k crit. We play it for 2 if our leader is Cumber. Our opponent has 2 more energy and a battle card in play. We play it for 2. We get to take control over an opponent's battle card that's 3 or less. That's non-black, meaning we cannot grab our Trunks or our Vegeta or our Goku. So you can't grab any of these. So which is fine, it's whatever. But this card's actually not bad into a lot of matchups. Anything that's 3 or less, you can just take control over it. It's not bad. And it's a 20k crit, and it has Overlord. So we can play this for 2. Use our leader effect. Give one of our cards Servant, and then use this. You can swing. You can bomb deck the Servant, draw a card, and then 20k crit. It's not a bad card. If it had Barrier, this card would probably be a 4 of, but 2 I think is probably good as right now, just because we want to. The archetype's pretty heavy, so we want to be able to cut some cards where we can. So 2 for now, potentially might change. Then we have my Ace in the Hole. So when this card's played, add up to 1 Super Saiyan Vegito Supreme Gleaming from your deck to your hand, add shuffle. So you get to add this guy from your deck. Now, you get to play this for free if your leader is the Evil Saiyan or Cumber, and when you play this, you get to draw, and you play this card in your opponent's battle area. So this card will draw you a card, you play it for free, your opponent gets to look through their deck, add this card if they're playing Cumber, or if they decide to side deck this card against you for some reason. Pretty cool effect. And then you actually can bottom deck this card off of the Servant effect. So this card is it's just a draw 2. It's a free draw 2. So it's not actually, this is actually a really good card. It's searchable off Vegito, off of Trunks. It's not searchable off anything else. We're gonna include this as a 3 of, just because it's not searchable off anything else. 3 is probably good. This can search out, you can play this also for 1 on your turn to search out the Vegito here. And also what's nice is you can basically use it as an add 1, but also you can just search through your deck to see if your secret rare's in there, how many super combos, things like that. The skill list we're not going to play. SS4 Goku, which came out of the set as well. As good as a card that this is, we're not really running Overwhelm. And also, if we're gonna run an Overwhelm, we're gonna run something that's a little bit better. At least that's 30k or something that gets rid of like spot removal. A 20k crit that draws a card. It's very good, just maybe not for this deck. And we have Cooler Evolution's Premonition. So this is a very good card, and this is going to be in the side deck for sure. Warps a Goku ignoring Barrier. So there's a lot of Gokus. A lot of them also have Barrier. So being able to pay 1 to warp one of those is very good. But again, not in the main deck. We don't really need it. So this is the 35 card main deck that came out of the new set, and then everything else is going to be older cards and tech cards, right? So first thing we want to look at is the Evil Saiyan. So this is this card's very good. So this card searches out Foos and Saiyan cards, and also our Unison, which we do need to grab real quick. Doesn't look like it's going to be on here, so we're going to need to just go to Unisons, go to Black Unisons, and we need to add 4 of this guy, all according to plan. So you can play this for 1 if you have a Fu Z battle card in play. Play it for 1. The 15k plus 2, give an Evil Saiyan or Cumber 6 or less Servant. So you can give your Z battle card Servant. We're going to just add 4 to the deck. You can give your Z battle card here Servant to make it a 25k. You can give it to this guy to make it a 15. You can give it to this guy to make him a 29k dual attacker. Technically, you can give it to your super combo too. And then the bottom effect, -7 and 1 black. You choose one of your opponent's battle cards with Servant, switch it to active mode, and gain control of it. This can be good. I don't think this is going to be something you're going to see a lot. But you'll be able to steal battle cards. Technically, you can steal the Goku, which is kind of cool. For 1 energy, but there's probably better cards you can steal with that. And it's any card, so you can steal. Not saying that you would want to steal like a token, but you can steal any battle card as long as it has Servant. All right, so yes, as I was talking about with the Evil Saiyan and the Trunks, being able to search out 6 or less is incredible. So you can search off almost every card in this deck except for Mai and the 8-drop and your Secret Rare, right? So what else do we want to add to this? So we're going to go to black battle cards that are 6 cost first, just to see what we have on here. So this will obviously have Overwhelms and different things that you can run in the deck. So So the first thing we're going to do is include an Overwhelm. So we actually are going to include Dark Broly for now. Dark Broly or SS4 Vegeta are probably the two that you're going to want to use. Beyond All Limits is good, but we can't recycle it nearly as much, so Beyond All Limits might not be the best choice here. This card's very interesting. SS4 Bardock. So being able to, it's a 3 cost, which is the problem with it, but you get to warp 2 cards from your opponent's hand, and it's a 30k dual attacker. So that's kind of cool, but again, probably not something that we're going to fit in the main board. Now this is a trap. I know people have been including this in Cumber lists. Unfortunately, this card does not work as well because you have to use Goku and Vegeta Xeno cards, and you don't run any Xeno cards in the archetype. You're going to have to fit in like True Fighting Spirits or the super combos and things like that, and it becomes a little more convoluted that way just for a 1-drop. And you're not overwhelming anything, so you're not really putting anything in the warp to use this effect. You're going to be activating it from hand. It's just not as good. So stay away from using thwarting. It's not something you're going to want to use in this deck. So the overwhelm of choice right now is going to be Dark Broly, just because it does warp something on play, and we can play it later on from the warp for 2 energy if we desperately need to play a battle card. Now we get to probably the 2 best 6-drops to play, and I've seen one of these added into a lot of lists, which is good, which is the BMS Assassins from the Darkness. So this is a, this card really has, since its launch, which the card just came out last set, it's been looked at as kind of a weird card. It's a 1-drop if your leader's black, and when you play it on your turn, you warp one of your opponent's battle cards 6 or less. If it's your opponent's turn, you give one of your cards 5k for the turn. Essentially, you can give your leader a 5k bean for the turn, which is really good for defensive purposes. Now, this card can only attack if you have 3 or more energy and a Z leader or a Z battle card in play, which has been the problem, is there hasn't been a lot of good Z battle cards nor Z leaders for black, so its card hasn't really seen any play yet. However, in this deck, we're going to have Fu probably on board most of the game, and then once we get into playing our Cumbers or our Z leader, we're going to be able to play this card out pretty easily. So we're going to actually include 3 of this card. And because we're including 3 of this, we have to remember this is a 0-cost combo. We're actually going to take out Dark Broly, and we're going to include Fang Greeting as the card that we're going to play. So just because Fang Greeting warps a battle card from hand, and it's a 30k. Again, this might change. You might do something like, where's it at? I don't see it on here. Did I skip it? So not this guy, but where's the Trunks at? There it is. So you can actually include the Trunks too. Trunks is a 19k dual attacker. It doesn't get the bottom effect because your leader's not Supreme Kai. But this is another target you could potentially do. Beyond All Limits also might be an option now because we're going to be running this BMS here. So actually we'll just include this and just forget what I just said about a card. So we'll just include Beyond All Limits. So Beyond All Limits also just allows you to grab back your Cumber, your 3-drop, your Trunks, your Vegeta, which technically is a negate, your Fu, and also this card as well. So actually, we're going to take this down to 2 just because we are at 42 cards already. But this is a very good target for it. The other target is going to be King Vegeta. And this is one I have not seen in a lot of lists. So this is a 2-drop if your opponent has 3 or more cards in the warp, which we're going to be able to get 3 cards in the warp. This card's played, you get to warp a card from your opponent's hand or their board. Hand obviously is going to be the preferred. And then it is a unique double strike barrier. When this card's in rest mode, if your opponent swings at your leader once per turn, they have to warp a card from their hand. So on defense, you technically can use like the BMS to give this a 5k buff. But also the fact that this is barrier, green's going to be pretty prevalent, I think, next set, in which we're going to have to deal with Charismatic Villain. So cards like Cumber here, they're not going to survive as long because you're going to play this for 1. They're just going to Charismatic Villain it. So being able to play out a 2-drop that has barrier and they can't kill it, and then you can warp a card from your opponent's hand is very good. Now you're probably thinking, well, we don't have a lot of warping effects in our deck right now. So like I said, you have this, which is going to be able to warp a card on play. You have the Vegeta, which technically warps a card on play. We have our Secret Red that warps a card on play. So we're kind of adding in some cards that are going to have the effects of being able to warp. So that's kind of does it for the 6-drops. Like I said, you can search out a lot of other Saiyans. Like you can search out this guy here, a lot of this stuff, but it just doesn't really kind of coincide with the deck. So we're not going to really look into any of these other 6-drop cards. They just don't really do as much. So these are probably, like, again, the 3 best targets for this deck, outside of obviously the Cumber card and then your super combos and everything else like that. But these are some of the best 6-drops you're going to be able to run. Okay, so we included that. So what else do we want to add? So we're going to look at some negates, probably. So we're going to go into the extra card slot for black and see what we have in here. So this card here I think is pretty good for the deck. It's a 10k. We actually don't have a ton of 10ks in this deck. Most of this deck is going to be 5ks. So just having a 10k combo card that we can use I think is pretty prevalent. It can do multiple things. You can, on your turn, you can warp something. On your opponent's turn, you draw a card, and you can burst up to 3, which could help for overwhelming. So we're going to actually include 2 of these in the main deck. And then there was an extra card that came out in the new set for this, which is there's a counterplay card. See if we can find it here. It's probably in page 2. Yeah, this guy. So this guy is an interesting card. I want it to be good, but you have to pitch a card and you get to play the card in your battle area with Servant. Not amazing. There's some unique times where this card would actually be viable, but I don't think it's a good counterplay to run in the deck. The negate, however, is actually pretty cool, which I don't see the negate here. This guy, yeah, Explosion of Malice. So this is a cool card. It's a negate, and you give a battle card Servant, which if this card has a lot of good defensive tools if you are already Z-Awoken. If you're not Z-Awoken, this doesn't really matter too much. I don't want to give a card Servant, and then they swing with an extra 10k on me, you know? But if you're already Z-Awoken and you give a card Servant, and let's say it's got like triple attack or dual attack or something, and they swing at you again, you actually can combo the card off. So that makes it really cool. You also can't choose through barrier, so you can't choose, like, you know, a card ignoring barrier and give it Servant, and then it can't restand. So there's effects like that. It's just not nearly as good. So instead, obviously we're going to run Support of the Dark Empire. I would say Power Burst. Power Burst would be a good card. We might end up adding Power Burst in, but currently we're going to do 3 Support of the Dark Empire. And then we're going to do 2 Protector of the People. So black does not have a lot of good extra cards that are, or a lot of good floodgates that are not 2 energy. And we don't want to use 2 energy for a floodgate. So Protector of the People, if your opponent attacks your leader, you can gain 5k when they attack with a battle card. Since we are kind of in a battle card heavy meta, this is a pretty good 1-drop, just negate, and just kind of helps you, hopefully will stop them from attacking you nearly as much. So because we added this, I might actually take this out and put it in the side deck, just because. And I do want to add another card here. So for the main deck, probably include 1 Super Kamehameha, which then we probably would side more of them so we can just stop floodgates. Now there's another card I want to add, which is a 1-drop, Negates, the Dark Ruler. So this card is really snapped in this deck. So it's a 1-drop that draws you a card, and then you can activate, when you activate Overlord, because this card also has Overlord, you play 1 token, which has a 5k combo and 5k attack. So this is cool. So we're actually going to include 3 of this card in the deck. And what this card allows us to do is activate Overlord when we have a card on our side that has Overlord, or that has Servant. We can end up bottom decking it. So we actually can use Negates to bottom deck this guy here, and that's, I think, really good, right? Just having this card on board, you can end up bottom decking the Goku here, which gives it self-Servant. I don't think you can give your own battle card Servant. So yeah, I don't think you can give your own battle card Servant. Yeah, you can't give anything that you have Servant. But you know, there's some different things you can do with that. So being able to just have Magic Gabor, I think it's good. If we can add more Overlord card or more Servant cards, we can see. So let's see. So let's do Servant. See what pops up. See if you find anything that has Servant. So you have these guys. These guys might work. Where is it at? So this card you can't play because your leader's not a Dark Demon Overrealm or Dark Overlord, whatever that stupid thing is. This card's cool. Again, we don't warp a lot, but this is a card you can technically use. We'll put it in the main deck for now. See if we can find a spot for it. These cards are cool. So yeah, so activate battle if there's a one or more Salsa cards in your combo and you send one card other than this card from your warp to your hand. Oh, okay, so this actually allows us to put stuff into our warp, and then you can play it. If there's one or more Shroom or Salsa cards in your combo area, and you send one card other than this card from your hand to your warp. Play this card from your hand or warp. When this card is played, you may send the top card of your deck to your warp. Then your opponent sends one card from their hand to the warp. So you don't have to warp a card on top to get the effect, because it says you may, and then it doesn't say if you do. They just do it. And then this card, when this card attacks, you may send the top card of your deck to your warp. Then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, 4 or less, and send it to the warp. So again, you don't have to send stuff to the warp. So this actually might actually work. This card doesn't work with it. So yeah, these actually might work with the deck because they do give you more Servant cards. It might make the deck really, really heavy. So might not end up working. Yeah, might not end up working. It's a cool idea. But it might not work with this deck. So that puts us down to 50, which is pretty good. I do want to look through battle cards though and see if we can find anything else that allows us to warp. So Smoke Dragon obviously I think would be a good addition to the deck. That is another warping effect. Let's see. See if we can find anything. So here's a card. So actually, Son Gohan, Hostile Saiyan Encounter actually probably should be like a 3 of in this deck. So again, it's searchable. And then you can actually, yeah, this actually probably would actually be the card that we want to run. So it puts us at 55. Let's see if we can cut something, potentially. But this card, you can combo it off, tap 1, add it to your Z energy and warp something. And between using this, that already puts you at 2, so that's pretty good. That's why we kind of wanted to use Vegito, but you have this to use. Yeah, this actually might be. This honestly might even be a 4 of in the deck. Not gonna lie to you. Yeah, it might be a 4 of. And you also can. Once you have 4 life, you can take one of your own life and bottom deck a card from your hand, and then negate a battle card swing, and you can play this from your drop or your warp. So yeah, that's actually really good. We do like that card. So we'll keep searching here, see if I find anything. This is a cool card. This might end up being added in later on. As at the moment, there's too much barrier for this card to really be effective. So, but this is a good contender potentially in the future. All right, so I looked through most of the cards, and I really couldn't find anything else that warped. This would probably, I'd probably cut this on the 3 just to be 55. We probably want to be comfortably at like 50, like 54. So maybe cut a Vegeta, 3 Support of the Dark Empire, 6 Negates, 2 Protectors. I do 1 Protector. Yeah, I'm gonna decide it. We would just sign another Protector, and then we have 3 Gohans. That's quite a bit of negates for this deck. You have your removal for anything. We have another spot removal. We have more spot removal. More spot removal if we need to. Spot removal. Kind of spot removal. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good solid main deck here. For the Z deck, again, so like there's some cool other black cards that they've introduced to the game. Like this Pan card is really cool. We don't play a lot of Xeno stuff, so it doesn't really affect us too much. Vegeta might want to be played in here as a one of, just so we can help get down to 5. So then we don't have to get you know, from 6 to 4 or 6 to 3. So we'll take out one Fu. That's probably good. I know the Buu card, the Majin Buu, I do want to run in here, but that's something we'll have to just test, which is the, I don't see Buu. Maybe I skipped over it on accident. Didn't see it in here. Deck plan's being weird. Okay. Well, this I think would be the list. The Overwhelm is kind of the one slot that you kind of have to figure out. So this is a 52 card main deck because Prison Planet's not being played. But no, I think this is pretty solid. I think it's pretty solid. Just make this a little bit bigger so people can see it. I think it's a pretty solid main deck. Like I said, this could change depending on what the promos are for black and if we do get something. Oh, actually, there is another. There's one more card potentially could add, but it's probably not good in this deck. Nah, never mind. I had an idea for something, but probably wouldn't be good. So the Overwhelm slot is kind of the weird one. This could be Feign Greeting. I probably wouldn't do Dark Broly because you already have 2 cards in your deck that are 0 combo cost. So probably not a good idea to add a third one. But everything else seems pretty good. Yeah, seems like a pretty good deck. So, but this is this is just a potential possibility for Cumber. So, let me know what you guys think down below. I'll try to make some edits so the video is not incredibly long. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thank you guys for the support, and I will see you guys in the next video.